Invisible Dan drove the car, a green Volkswagen Jetta that hurtled along I-80 in the middle of the night. We just coaxed him into fifth gear. He'd never driven a stick before, and now allowed ourselves to drowse, drifting on the edge of sleep as we whisked through central Pennsylvania. The promised land was still 200 miles away. Columbus, Columbus, Columbus. Was there a word more beautiful in all the language than this one? An ordinary city in the Midwest whose name still spoke worlds of firstness, freshness, discovery. Westward we flew, as the word made a rosary under my breath, the engine's hum and the seat's vibration lulling me deeper. "Tell me again," I said to my friend Marcus. "Tell me again about Lords of Oblivion." Marcus, high on LSD, just stared at me. "What's the tell? You're gonna have to experience it." It was 2:30 in the morning. He'd driven an earlier shift and now claimed he was tripping too hard to drive. Maybe he just wanted to torture us, Invisible Dan and I, the outsiders. We were perpendicular in the center of the primary interstate that cut across the northern half of the U.S. Yet so what? The highway was silent. The road was a moon-slicked ribbon that cut between head-high stalks of corn, wheat. I had no idea. I couldn't have told Ohio from Kansas. This wasn't L.A., was all I knew. This wasn't the movies. I was 19 years old, had barely even left California. Experience it, huh? Yeah. Marcus's eyes were quarter-sized. His long black bangs hung in his face. He was gothic, beautiful, and ridiculous. It was 1985. Experience. Sure enough, this was why we were going. To Marcus's hometown of Columbus, where I'd get to see what he swore were the best band in the world, Lords of Oblivion. The band's singer, Nick Devine, was a giant, he promised. Iggy Pop, Jim Morrison, and Mick Jagger in one man. We were stranded in the mid-'80s, surrounded by posture in every direction, cheap hooks and pancake makeup and fishnet stockings, bands that couldn't be troubled to break a sweat on stage or barter their souls, worshipping instead at the high church of the European cigarette. Lords of Oblivion were different. You could hear it in their records, the way the singers shrieked, bargained, pled, and howled, the way the band commanded your speakers until you were ready to beg for mercy yourself. Their shows were said to be passion plays, outriggers and enactments of the apocalypse. Your head rang for days afterwards, and, if the accounts of witnesses were to be believed, Nick Devine did everything but resurrect the dead. The records couldn't approach the reality of the performances, Marcus told me over and over, until I had no choice but to believe him. This band you've never heard of, they were the best of all time. Given this, it was simple. He drove home for the summer, and I just jumped in the car. Wouldn't you?